huge snow train is about to slam the United States, which will lead to a bunch of snow threats over the next 7 days. What's crazy is this winter storm train is set to dump repeated rounds of heavy snow across the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and East Coast. This comes directly after the worst blizzard in at least 10 years impacted the Northeast. Additionally, we are looking at a dramatic temperature roller coaster over the next 7 days, with wild swings from bitter Arctic air to abnormally warm temperatures. This winter pattern will be absolutely crazy. So, let's get right into the forecast. And I want to begin today's forecast by talking about the insane nor'easter that happened yesterday in the Northeast. This one was downright historic. We ended up seeing nearly 40 inches of snow in some locations. Look at this over here near Long Island. We had a widespread 20 to 30 inches of snow basically in New York City, all the way back over towards Montauk and far eastern Long Island. Back over in Massachusetts is really where it hit hard. Back over in Rhode Island, we had a couple of locations near Providence reach 38 inches of snow from this winter storm. It was absolutely crazy. Even near Warwick, we had about 38 inches of snow. And believe it or not, this beats the 1978 blizzard for the most snowfall we've ever seen in Providence, Rhode Island, coming in at 38 inches of snow. That is nearly 9 inches of snow more than the 1978 blizzard, which was downright crazy. Back over in the Northeast, even just south of Boston and Milton, we had 24 inches. Also, closer to areas like Plymouth, which really got hammered by this winter storm when it came to the winds, saw about 30 inches of snowfall. So this was a really historic winter storm. I know some of you did not see nearly as much snowfall as forecasted, but for some others, there was a lot more snow than forecasted. Now, let's talk more about this really big weather pattern change that is about to impact nearly the entire country. And this thing is going to really change the weather for the remainder of February and also early March. So this is what it looks like right now. We have a large dip in the jet stream back along the East Coast. Arctic air is currently spilling out of Canada, making its way all the way down into areas like Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. This is one of the coldest mornings that we've had down here since the beginning of February. And then, our really large nor'easter has now made its way into Nova Scotia, back over into parts of Canada, so that thing is gone. We are done with the very significant snowfall for only today. We are going to see more snowfall in the Northeast tomorrow, another chance on Thursday and Friday. There's another chance in early March. We could have 3 winter storms just over the next 7 days in the Northeast. So, this is what it's going to look like by Wednesday and Thursday. We have a large high-pressure system that has built its way up across Baja California. Very intense jet stream. Basically, zonal flow coming out of the west. But notice this right here. We got a little dip in our jet stream back over in North Dakota, basically across far western Canada. And this is what's going to allow for Alberta clippers and separate winter storms to try to make their way over the Great Lakes and the Northeast. And this is going to lead to more snowstorm chances across parts of the Ohio Valley, Midwest, and then back into the East Coast during the middle and end of this week. And then once we go into next weekend is when we do have the possibility of seeing a more significant and larger storm system along the East Coast that could bring a lot more problems sometime around Friday or Saturday. And then once we go into the beginning of March, things get very interesting. This is obviously going to be the beginning of severe weather season. March through June are typically the most active when it comes to tornadoes and severe weather. And we are expecting our jet stream to lift very far off to the north, which means most of our winter storm chances will likely start to lift back to the north into the Midwest and the Northeast. Meanwhile, severe weather will start to make a return with some big storm systems, most likely during the first couple of weeks of March. Now let's talk more about these storm systems that'll be coming to the United States. And it'll begin with what is happening today. We already have a little Alberta clipper that is currently forming back over in the upper Midwest and parts of Canada. We also have an atmospheric river event that is impacting the Pacific Northwest. Heavy rain along the coastline in Northern California, Western Oregon. Heavy snowfall in the higher elevations. Once we go later into today, this Alberta clipper is going to make its way across Wisconsin, Michigan, and also back into parts of northern Illinois. There will be some light snow showers, a little bit of moderate to heavy snow is possible in the upper peninsula of Michigan later this afternoon. And then, once we go into the evening hours tonight, this low-pressure system will intensify just a little bit as it continues to move to the southeast. But it will also be kind of broadening out, becoming a larger low-pressure center area. And so this is going to start to lead to just a larger, widespread area of light to maybe moderate snow showers Wednesday morning across parts of the Ohio Valley and the Northeast. This will not really be that impactful. I think for the most part, we're talking about 1 to 3 inches of snow for most locations. There could be some localized areas, though, that get around 3 to 6 inches, especially near the lakes like Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. And then back over in New England, as we go into Wednesday morning and afternoon, there will be some light to moderate snow. This will again not be as heavy as what we just saw from the nor'easter, but we could see a few inches of snow there. And then once we go into late Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to have a large area of moisture come over the Rockies from our atmospheric river event back over in the Pacific Ocean, and this is going to lead to our next big storm system. This one could be pretty impactful when it comes to snow, when it comes to the possibility maybe even some severe weather returning. So this is going to bring a mix of problems across the country. Once we go into early Thursday, the storm system will quickly make its way over into the Ohio Valley, where there will be an elongated area of light snowfall from South Dakota and Minnesota into Ohio. And then this over here is where we're going to be watching for maybe an organized risk of severe weather on Thursday. The Storm Prediction Center is currently monitoring the areas down here in the Tennessee Valley and the Dixie Alley for maybe some damaging winds and an isolated tornado risk. Mainly looks like this is going to be more of a concern in Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, maybe southeastern Tennessee. And then on the north side of the storm system is yet again another shot of heavy snow across Maryland all the way back into New Jersey, Long Island, and southern New England. This is not a nor'easter, but it is going to dump a few more inches of snow on top of what we've already seen, and the snow's not really going to melt anytime soon. Now, I think what's more interesting is what happens in the first few days of March, so we will have another Alberta Clipper in Canada looks like right around February 28th, so at the last day of the month might bring some snowfall to northern New England. Arctic high will be behind that, and then once we go into the first few days of March, we could have some snow showers circling around an Arctic high pressure system that'll be passing by the Great Lakes. But again, this is not the interesting thing. What could be interesting is what happens during the first few days of March on the backside of this high-pressure system. The GFS currently shows a large area of snow, freezing rain, and sleet developing across Iowa, back into Kentucky, also central Illinois, and then becomes a much more significant and large winter storm as an Alberta Clipper passes off to its north up here in Canada. And that energy should allow for a pretty significant winter storm to develop here across the Ohio Valley and back into the Northeast. The uncertainty right now is more regarding what's going to happen with the evolution of this storm across the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, but it could be pretty significant depending on how quickly this thing evolves and how much moisture we get. But it does look like the Northeast could have another big winter storm on their hands sometime in the first few days of March. The Climate Prediction Center has also noted that there is a higher likelihood of us seeing another winter storm during the first few days of March. They already have a slight risk of heavy snowfall in place across the Northeast, so definitely something that we need to be watching for very closely. And then beyond March 3rd and 4th, things become a lot more uncertain, but the expectation is that our weather pattern is going to remain very active. And in terms of total snowfall accumulation over the next 7 days or so, back over here in the Midwest and also across the northern plains, right now we're expecting a few inches of snowfall primarily across Wisconsin, Iowa, back into the Dakotas, and also northern Illinois. Things get a lot more uncertain as we head into March. Obviously, the numbers increase here as we go into early March, but we're not entirely sure how that next winter storm is going to evolve during those first few days. So make sure that you're subscribed to the channel for the latest details. And then back over in the Northeast, we'll have a little shot of snow here as we go into Wednesday and early Thursday. Again, this one's only going to bring a few inches of snow. We will probably pick up closer to 3 to 6 inches near Lake Erie and also near Lake Ontario. But inland areas of New England and even back over on Long Island, we're maybe talking an inch or two. It's not going to be that significant. Pretty average overall. And then once we go into Friday and Saturday, another shot of snow will be a little bit more significant. I think by the weekend, we should see at least a widespread 2 to 5 inches of snow. But again, that could uptrend once we get closer. So, something else to be watching for. And then, anytime as we go into March, things could get again a lot more interesting when it comes to snowfall accumulations. But once again, if you are in the Northeast, yes, there's more snowfall coming. Will it be as much snow as the Nor'easter? No. But there will be several shots, and this could definitely uptrend over the next few days. So make sure that you're staying tuned to the channel. We could have some more big-time snowfall on the way up there, but across the Midwest and the Great Lakes, we also have a lot more snowfall coming here before winter is finally done, and all aboard the temperature roller coaster over the next 7 days. We already have an Arctic blast that's impacting the United States this morning, mainly along the East Coast. But that's going to vanish tomorrow. It's basically going to be gone. And then once we go into Wednesday, look at this. Heat is going to start to build again back over in the Great Plains and back into the desert Southwest. If you're over in the Northeast, even though the Arctic air is moving out, we will have another shot of cold air on the backside of our little Alberta clipper. So, some snow will come, and then we'll have cold air on the backside of that. And I'm not gonna lie, the groundhog literally just said only to the Northeast that they are going to see 6 more weeks of winter. The remainder of the United States is barely seeing winter at this point. We're going to have spring-like conditions by Friday and Saturday all across the Great Plains back into the Ohio Valley. Another large Arctic air mass will build. Right now, though, the forecast is that we're going to see that Arctic air really only impacting the northern plains and the Midwest. And we should have a winter storm that'll try to develop somewhere in here in the Midwest and the Ohio Valley around Sunday and Monday of next week. And then that Arctic air mass will spill into the Northeast. And then, once we go into the first full week of March, things become more uncertain. But again, the Northeast does not look like you're going to be getting out of winter anytime soon. It's actually unbelievable how cold it is going to be here for the next few weeks. And on top of that, how much snow is still coming. And these are the actual temperatures over the next few days. High temperatures today in the 70s and almost 80s already in Kansas. And we're nearing the end of February. But again, still abnormally warm for this time of the year. Once we go into Thursday and Friday, temperatures will mostly only be warm towards the Gulf Coast. Friday, though, all that warm air is going to surge to the north as our high-pressure system builds and a low-pressure system starts to form back over in Canada. Temperatures will be well into the 50s and 60s across most of the Midwest and also the northern plains. There will start to be a little bit more snow melting if you're back over in New Jersey and Long Island. Once we go into Friday and Saturday, by late Saturday, early Sunday, look at the temperatures down here in Texas approaching the 90s, so it's about to get really warm over there. And then once we head into the first full week of March, cold air will continue across all of the Midwest and the Northeast. And then warm air will once again be confined mostly to the Tennessee Valley and the Gulf Coast states. But again, we're not far away from severe weather season really kicking into gear. With temperatures this warm, it's only going to be a matter of time. And as always, thank you all so much for watching today's forecast on Michael Carter Weather. If you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. We will likely have another video tomorrow talking all about these snow chances that are upcoming. So stay tuned and we will see you in the next video. Goodbye.